Is the Toyota Yaris Cross the right car for you? Well, it's got a lot going for it. Toyota badge, hybrid badge. This one in particular has a GR Sport badge as well. So there's a fair bit to talk about. We'll get to that in this review. Thanks for watching my new channel. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing so far. If you are, please do like and subscribe. It helps a lot. Thanks. Let's keep going with it. The Toyota Yaris Cross range is pretty El Cheapo compared to some of its rivals. So there's a petrol entry-level version, then add $3,000 more for the GXL and $3,000 on top of that for the urban spec. And it's basically the most premium version of the car. Then you've got the front-wheel drive hybrid versions, which add $2,000 on top of all of those prices. And then there's this one, which is the GR Sport two-wheel drive hybrid, and it sits at the top of the two-wheel drive hybrid tree. And then after that, you can add $3 more and you can get all-wheel drive hybrid technology, but you can't get it with the GR Sport. If you're confused, I'm not surprised. There are 10 different derivatives of the Yaris Cross, and it's a pretty small player in the segment. So I reckon Toyota could do its consumers a bit of a favor, trim the lineup down a little bit. I don't think they need that many choices. But next, I'm going to tell you some of the Yaris Cross's best competitors. If you're after a very, very small SUV that has some semblance of practicality on the inside, then there are a couple of options that I think you should be looking at alongside the Yaris Cross. There's the Volkswagen T-Cross, which has a very clever second row seat. It slides, so you can either have more boot space or more passenger room, depending on what you need. And it's well priced, and it's fun to drive, and I actually think it's pretty impressive and maybe a bit underrated. There's another model from the Volkswagen Group. It's the Skoda Kamiq. It feels more upmarket than the Yaris Cross or even the T-Cross on the inside, and it has a big boot as well. For such a compact car, it's very fun to drive and actually kind of beautiful to look at if you ask me. But tell me what you think. Let me know in the comments. I reckon the Toyota Yaris Cross is a bit of a packaging marvel. It's less than 4.2 meters long, which is very, very small, yet it still has 5 seats. I'll show you what the space is like on the next section of this video, but I want to show you the boot first because it's kind of special. For a little tiny car, you can fit quite a lot of stuff in the boot, and you can fit even more in because it's got this clever dual floor system that allows you to have even more space than you had already. It's really quite an impressive size boot for such a small car. It makes you wonder why people would choose something like a Corolla hatchback, which has a boot that's up to 45% smaller than this car, and it's even a longer car than this. So yeah, if you value the idea of space efficiency, then a car like this makes heaps of sense. Plus, it has a space saver spare wheel under the floor of the front wheel drive versions, but if you choose an all-wheel drive model, you only get a tyre repair kit. The interior of the Yaris Cross is mostly okay. It's not necessarily very special feeling, even in this GR Sport grade, which does have a few differentiators. Now, I'll tell you about those first. So it's got these sports seats with this different material. It's like a microfibery suede sort of finish, fake leather accented elements as well. Obviously, GR stitching on the headrests too. There's a GR badged steering wheel, which doesn't necessarily feel overly special either. The rest of the interior, apart from the floor mats, is basically just a Yaris Cross style interior. So you still get the same quite small 7-inch touchscreen media system. It's got lots of buttons and knobs down the side, which I really like. I think that makes it a lot easier to use, but the screen itself is quite small. Below that, you've got very logical controls for the air conditioning. Thankfully, again, buttons and knobs. I'm a big fan, in case you haven't already been able to tell that. Below that, you've got a couple of USB ports. So there's a USB-C port in the GR Sport, but not in some of the other models, and a regular USB port too. Lots of open storage elements in this cabin. So you've got a storage cubby up here. That's where your vents are as well, if you're wondering. Another storage cubby underneath. Some big open areas between the seats, so a couple of cup holders. You could put a purse or bag or wallet or whatever you wanted to put in there as well. Another little cubby in here, but no covered section, so no armrest as well, which I actually kept wanting to find. Like, I was looking for a phantom armrest that didn't exist. So that could be a little bit annoying if you do a lot of long distance driving in this sort of car. But otherwise, it's not too bad. You've got digital instrumentation for the driver. You've got two little circular displays and then another display in between them. It looks pretty smart, I think, maybe a little bit old school in 2023 and beyond. A lot of other brands have just gone with a full widescreen screen, which I think actually looks more classy. But everyone has their own preferences. There's big bottle holders in the doors, which is good, and a decent sized glove box, but it's full with a very big book of servicing and warranty stuff. You might want to get rid of that. Anyway, let's check out the back seat. Being the GR Sport model, you do continue the theme of semi-sporty materials in the back, so you get that same sort of suede-ish and fake leatherish finish on the seat. In terms of space, it's pretty limited for someone my size. You might not always have someone who's 182 centimeters or 6 foot sitting in the back, but I am, and this is set to my driving position. I've got a little bit of knee room, a little bit of foot room, and actually the headroom is quite good. So it's not going to be untenable for someone who is this big in the back seat, but you might be better suited to smaller occupants. Now, let's talk about smaller occupants because kids might not love it back here. It is quite dark and claustrophobic feeling. The window line rakes up a fair way and kids in the back might find it a little bit uncomfortable. Also, there are no rear seat air vents and no charge ports either. So it could be a bit of an unpleasant experience if you do have kids, but they will be catered for in terms of seat attachment points. There are ISOFIX points on the outboard window seats and also 3 top tether points too. There's a map pocket, just the one. This seat doesn't get one for some reason, and bottle holders in the doors. There's no traditional center armrest for the middle seat, but you do get a flip down section. So if you have long items, you could actually load them through, like if you have skis. Just make sure that they're attached securely because you don't want them flying through to the front. But here you'll see a couple of cup holders and the center seat top tether point is there as well. So obviously you can't use the middle seat tether point if you've got the seat bit down. All the Yaris Cross models come with a 3-cylinder petrol engine. So the base model petrol engine is just petrol, and it has a CVT automatic and is front wheel drive. You'll see the outputs on your screen now. It is fairly peppy for something that isn't turbocharged of the 3-cylinder variety. And then there's this engine, which is the 3-cylinder petrol as well, but it's got some hybrid bits attached, namely 2 electric motors on the front axle. It also runs a CVT automatic transmission and is front-wheel drive. Now, as I mentioned, you can get an all-wheel drive version of the Yaris Cross, which adds an electric motor at the back axle and revises the suspension as well. So it's a little bit different to drive. It's going to cost you a bit more money though, so you're going to have to want it or need it. I would say that if you're expecting a full GR experience when you buy the GR Sport version of the Yaris Cross, you're going to be disappointed because it's not a GR style drive experience. It's very much a Yaris Cross style drive experience. In fact, I'm not even sure it's as good as the regular Yaris Cross. There have been adjustments to the suspension tune, so it's lowered by 10 millimeters. It's obviously designed to feel a little bit more firm and in control, but also have extra bracing underneath the car to make it tighter. And I don't know whether it's helped the ride quality or comfort. I've driven the existing version of the Yaris Cross and I thought it was just fine to drive. So when I got into this one, I was a little bit miffed, really. I didn't really expect it to be worse, but maybe it's just where I drive. So I wouldn't say that the ride is harsh, but at times it can feel a little bit busy. You're probably not going to be driving this car on a racetrack. Maybe you will, but the idea of this car being sportier to drive is somewhat negated by these tyres. They don't have enough grip for sporty driving. So basically you run out of tyre tread before you run out of cornering ability, to put it that way. I like the steering, I like the way that it drives generally. I'm just not sure that it's an improvement over the existing. I actually think this 1.5 litre 3-cylinder hybrid powertrain is pretty good. It's punchy enough and it gets the job done for urban duties especially. Higher speeds, you might find it feels a little breathless at times, especially up hills, but it's not a deal breaker. Let's talk about efficiency. You might be absolutely blown away by some of the claimed fuel consumption numbers for the Yaris Cross range. Let's start with this one, which is the front-wheel drive hybrid version, and the claimed official combined cycle fuel consumption figure is 3.8 litres per 100 kilometres. That is phenomenal. And then if you add all-wheel drive to that hybrid equation, you're looking at 4 litres per 100 Ks. That car's just a little bit heavier. If you want the petrol version, it's going to be a little bit thirstier. The official number is 5.4 litres per 100 Ks. Now remember, official combined cycle fuel consumption figures are a theoretical measurement of what you should be able to achieve across a mix of driving, right? So I've had this car on the trip computer showing me 3.3 litres per 100 kilometres across some driving scenarios. That is very impressive, but if you're wondering about my real world figure across a full week of driving, you'll see that on your screen now. The Toyota Yaris Cross has a 5-star ANCAP safety rating from 2021, and as you'd expect, it's got a whole bunch of active safety technology, including autonomous emergency braking with lane keeping assistance. There's also pedestrian detection and cyclist detection, junction detection to stop you from trying to dart through a gap in traffic if it doesn't think that you'll make it. That's all pretty neat stuff. You get a reversing camera as standard, but you also get a surround view camera on the GXL and every model above it. And if you choose one of those more expensive models, you will also get blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. It's a pretty well equipped little car, and also when it comes to airbag coverage, it has 2 front center airbags. So if you were T-boned at an intersection, for example, the airbags would both go off and stop you from clashing heads with whoever's sitting next to you. It's pretty neat. There's a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty as well. Plus, if you do service your car on time, you will get 7 years of powertrain warranty. If you buy a hybrid version of the Yaris Cross, you'll get up to 10 years of hybrid battery warranty, just so long as you service your car at Toyota, because they do an annual health check on the battery to make sure that it's keeping up to the standard that they set for themselves. One thing you should know, if you buy any Toyota model, you don't get roadside assistance included, so you'll have to add that cost on to your cost of ownership. I reckon the Toyota Yaris Cross SUV is a very impressive little car. Maybe not the best in this part of the market, but up there. It's got the Toyota badge, which a lot of people, well, want and desire. It's also got hybrid tech, which many of the other rivals don't have, and it's very well packaged. It's a compact car with lots of space. I personally wouldn't go for the GR Sport grade. I don't think it really adds enough to warrant there even being one. If I'm frank, I'd go for a GXL front-wheel drive hybrid, or maybe even the Urban front-wheel drive hybrid, because that'd suit me and my family better. But I'd love to know what you think. Hit me up in the comments below, tell me your thoughts, and if you are looking for any particular new car reviews, also let me know in the comments. I'll see if I can get to it. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.